The Galactic Council had made their calculations with the cold precision that came from 10,000 years of recorded warfare. They had analyzed humanity's military capabilities, assessed their technological limitations, and concluded that the species from Sol 3 would require at least 2 standard cycles to mount any meaningful response to the Krillian invasion of the Outer Rim territories. The humans, they decided, would negotiate. They always did. They were catastrophically wrong. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UHNS Indomitable, her dark eyes reflecting the swirling chaos of hyperspace as humanity's Third Fleet prepared to drop into real space. Behind her, Ashley Morrison worked frantically at the tactical console, her fingers dancing across holographic displays that showed the disposition of enemy forces. The young lieutenant had barely slept in the 72 hours since humanity had received word of the Krillian attack on the colony. Worlds where Ashley's own sister lived with her. Family. Fleet status, Chen commanded, her voice cutting through the controlled chaos of the bridge. All ships report ready, Admiral, came the response from Commander Alex Rodriguez at the operations station. His jaw was set, a muscle twitching beneath his stubbled cheek. Alex had lost friends on Proxima Station when the Krillians had vaporized it without warning. 247 vessels, 17 carriers, 42 dreadnoughts. The rest are cruisers, destroyers, and support craft. Ashley glanced up from her console, meeting Alex's eyes across the bridge. They had graduated from the academy together, had served on 3 different ships before ending up here. She could read the cold fury in his expression, the same fury that burned in her own chest. Emergence in 30 seconds, the navigation officer announced. Admiral Chen straightened, her hand resting on the command throne. All ships implement protocol hammerstrike on my mark. No warnings, no negotiations. Target priority Alpha, command vessels and heavy cruisers. Beta priority, carriers and logistics ships. We hit them so hard they forget their own names. The Krillian High Command had gathered their forces in the Arcturus system, a natural choke point that controlled access to 20 human colony worlds. Their fleet was impressive by any standard. Over 400 warships arranged in a defensive sphere around their mobile command fortress. The Krillians were a warrior species, evolved on a high-gravity world where only the strongest survived. They had conquered 17 systems in the past century, their tactics refined through endless conflict. They had never fought humans before. The hyperspace window tore open like a wound in reality, and humanity's Third Fleet emerged not at the safe distance protocols dictated, but mere thousands of kilometers from the Krillian formation. The surprise was absolute. Ashley's console lit up like a festival as targeting solutions locked onto enemy vessels. All ships reporting weapons lock, Admiral. Fire, Chen said simply. What happened next would be analyzed in military academies for generations. The human fleet didn't engage in the traditional dance of warfare that the Krillians expected. The posturing, the demands, the gradual escalation. Instead, 17 carriers simultaneously launched their full complement of strike craft, over 3,000 fighters and bombers that swarmed toward the enemy like angry hornets. Simultaneously, every railgun, missile battery, and directed energy weapon in the fleet opened fire. Alex watched his displays as the first salvos struck home. Multiple hits on enemy command fortress, shields failing across their forward elements. The Krillians attempted to respond, but their commanders were still processing the sheer audacity of the human attack. Their ships began returning fire, their plasma cannons lighting up the void. But the human fleet was already moving, executing a maneuver that shouldn't have been possible with ships so massive. Initiating Baker 7-7, Ashley reported, her voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding her system. The fleet split into 3 prongs, each driving deep into the enemy formation like spears. It violated every principle of conventional fleet tactics, but humanity had learned long ago that following the rules only worked when your opponent did the same. The Krillian flagship destroyer of worlds tried to bring its main batteries to bear on the Indomitable, but Alex had anticipated the move. Launching countermeasure package Delta, firing solution on their command tower ready. Execute, Chen ordered. The Indomitable's main railgun, a weapon that accelerated a 2-ton tungsten penetrator to a significant fraction of light speed, spoke once. The projectile crossed the intervening space in less than a heartbeat, and struck the Krillian flagship's command tower. The kinetic energy released was equivalent to a small nuclear weapon. The tower and everything in it simply ceased to exist. Ashley's tactical display showed enemy coordination collapsing. "Admiral, their command network is fragmenting. Multiple vessels attempting to retreat. All ships pursue and engage," Chen commanded. No survivors reached the hyperspace limit. What followed was less a battle than an execution. The human fleet moved with a coordination born of shared tactical networks and AI-assisted targeting. Every ship knew where every other ship was, what it was doing, and what it would do next. The Krillians, having lost their central command, reverted to individual ship tactics that might have worked against any other species. But humans had a saying: no plan survives contact with the enemy. They had built their entire military doctrine around that principle. Where other species valued order and hierarchy, humans embraced controlled chaos. Where others saw defeat and decentralization, humans saw opportunity. Alex coordinated the pursuit of fleeing Krillian vessels with clinical precision. 3rd Squadron reports 3 enemy cruisers destroyed. 7th Squadron has disabled 2 carriers requesting permission to board. "Denied," Chen responded. "Time is a weapon. We finish this now." Ashley watched as another cluster of Krillian ships vanished from her display. The enemy had numbered over 400 vessels when the battle began. 40 minutes later, fewer than 30 remained. And those were scattered, their shields failing, their weapon systems depleted. The destroyer of worlds, its command tower destroyed and half its superstructure venting atmosphere, transmitted a message in galactic standard. Admiral Chen had it routed to her console. "Human fleet, we surrender. We request terms." Chen's expression didn't change. "You attacked human colonies without warning. You killed civilians who had no defense. You wanted to show the galaxy that humanity was weak." She paused, letting the silence stretch. "You were wrong. There are no terms. There is only this: leave our space and never return. Tell your high command what happens when you strike at Earth's children." She nodded to Ashley, who transmitted the order to all ships. "Final salvo. Make it count." The human fleet fired one last devastating barrage, not enough to destroy the remaining Krillian ships, but enough to cripple them, to ensure they would limp home as broken testaments to this day. As the last Krillian vessel jumped to hyperspace, trailing debris and venting plasma, Alex allowed himself a tight smile. "All enemy combatants have withdrawn from the system, Admiral. The outer rim is secure." Chen nodded slowly, watching the aftermath on her displays. "Send word to Fleet Command. Humanity's response has been delivered. Let the galaxy know we don't start fights, but we sure as hell finish them." Ashley looked at the tactical display, at the debris field that had once been the most feared fleet in this sector of space, and understood why the Galactic Council had miscalculated so badly. They thought humanity would negotiate because they feared losses, because they valued individual lives above victory. They were right about the first part. Humanity did value every life, but that was precisely why, when those lives were threatened, humanity's response was so utterly devastating. Because every human lost was someone's child, someone's parent, someone's friend. And humanity remembered, and humanity struck back. The Third Fleet turned for home, leaving behind a message written in shattered hulls and scattered atoms. Humanity's battle fleet had entered the war zone and struck without warning. The opposition had ceased to be.